Hello, good morning. This is a video I've been wanting to make for a long time. This is about Quora. This is about a question and answer site that I am addicted to. I've been using this thing for 3 or 4 years. I've been told that Quora is not a trustworthy source. What's going on is you're putting these questions out there and just anybody can answer them. So obviously you are going to get some low quality answers and you can't fully trust what you get out there. However, for some kinds of questions, this is really cool. I mean, you get to put this question out there and you get so many different perspectives. Anyway, this video, I want to bring up some concerns I have with reading comprehension in the general populace. These are people who graduated high school and they have jobs and they somehow make enough money to support families. And it seems like these people, in case if you don't remember, reading comprehension is you read something and then there's like a test to see if you can comprehend what you read. And as you are going to see, alright, we're going to get into this. I'm going to read you a few of these. Okay, so sometimes I'm asking troll questions, but sometimes I'm asking shower thoughts. Sometimes I'm asking serious questions that I'm working on something I need to know. I'm going to take one more sip of coffee and we're going to get into it. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. So some of these answers are not going to be bad. Some of them are going to be very helpful, and then some of them are going to be... This is going to be a long video, and I can't wait to get into it. So thank you for sticking with my introduction. This first question: how do I set up an address if I don't have a place to live? My car insurance company will not accept a P.O. box. Alright, so the purpose behind this question is I'm thinking, if you're homeless or on the margin of homelessness, getting a car is a lot easier than getting a place to live. And if you're going to work your way up to getting out of homelessness into a place to live, a car is part of that transition, usually. But you can't register your car unless if you already have a place to live, So it's this is one of those subtle ways that the powers that be keep the poor person where they are. So anyway, we're going to do this guy named Dude. He's a former truck driver and contractor car guy. And his answer is, do you have a friend that will let you use their address? Mom, dad, sister, brother? If not, you up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. They need a home address. So I would say that's a useful answer to the question. Not really, I'm just being nice. That's not really useful. This guy doesn't offer any workarounds. He just says, that's the way it is, deal with it, sorry. And that's not the kind of answer that we're looking for. And I'm going to downvote it, but I'm going to thank him anyway. So those are the 3 actions that you can take. Is this a useful answer, yes or no? And then you can upvote or downvote the person's answer, and then you may or may not thank them or report them. Number 2. Okay, this is kind of a troll question, but it has an ulterior motive. So, would a nationwide mandate to dispose of masks and regulated biological waste containers go a long way in convincing people that masks don't work or COVID isn't real? So that was a mouthful. I'm going to take a sip while you digest that. There's people who think COVID isn't real or masks don't work, and what this question is suggesting is that if you made biological waste containers and required everybody to dispose of their masks as biological waste, wouldn't that make it seem like it's a little more, if we're wearing the masks because we're blowing COVID on them, and then, so I know it only is for a few days, it's still, we're going to get into this guy's answer, okay? So, I can't pronounce his name. I can't pronounce where he's from. It's in India. Not much. Such a mandate would be welcome from POV pollution control, not increased consumption. Indeed, use of masks may be adversely affected because the punitive aspects associated with disposal. Yeah, that's not really a useful answer to the question, but I'm going to upvote it anyway because I'm glad this person put their time in and I'm going to thank them. Let's move on to the next one. I should start moving at a quicker pace. You've been watching this for a little while. Have you ever bought undeveloped land? How hard was the title search and the broker's fees? How did you find a dealer and how long do you plan to hold the space? James Rickman, former environmental engineer, says, I grew up in the Ozarks, and undeveloped land was listed in the newspaper and also by real estate brokers. I purchased several tracts of land. At first, I paid an attorney for a title opinion. Mostly the results were things like, we can ignore this break in the chain of title due to age, and then always the opinion had the caveat that this was only opinion and not to be construed as defensible. I wondered what would happen if the title got messed up and somehow stopped getting title opinions and instead bought title insurance. All the land I purchased in the Ozarks I sold, but some I kept for more than 10 years. I would have liked to keep all the land, but we moved to Texas. Having land in Missouri was not practical. Is this a useful answer to your question? Hell yeah. This person gave us some personal experience about, pertaining to this thing. So I'm upvoting it. I'm thanking them. Here's a good one. How long does it take styrofoam to biodegrade? And what is the resulting byproduct? Now, this is kind of a trick question because styrofoam does not biodegrade. So this is technically a troll question, but I'm also genuinely looking for any ideas at all on what to do about styrofoam after we've already made it. Styrofoam is okay, the answer is from Oliver, can't pronounce the name. Styrofoam is technically a brand of closed-cell extruded polystyrene foam, XPS, commonly called blue board. Styrofoam colloquially is those white expanded polystyrene foam pieces used in packaging fragile electronics. I'm guessing you mean Morty. I guess you mean the expanded polystyrene packaging foam, so I will cover that. And then there's some links. There's some copy and paste. The EPA says this. It says it's carcinogenic. Biodegradation appears very low to non-existent without solvents or ZNO. And then this is from Wikipedia. Polystyrene is relatively chemically inert. While it is waterproof and resistant to breakdown by many acids and bases, it is easily attacked by many organic solvents. Waste polystyrene takes hundreds of years to biodegrade. And here's another one that this person copy-pasted. Virgin polystyrene is not responsive to degradation by ultraviolet light because of the presence of final rings in its repeating units. ZNO acts as a UV absorber and helps in transferring the absorbed energy to various bonds of PS and causes degradation. Okay, I'm going to read that again. ZNO acts as a UV absorber and helps in transferring the absorbed energy to various bonds of polystyrene and causes degradation. And then the link, studies on photocatalytic degradation of polystyrene. So that's interesting. Apparently ultraviolet light might be able to play a role in breaking this thing down. I believe that it does for plastics. It's just plastics generally take 450 years to break down in the ocean. But in the ocean, it can take like 8 months in the sunlight, but it's just breaking down into smaller pieces of microplastics. And it still gets in the fish, and then we feed the fish to the babies. So that was a really useful answer. Oliver put some time into here. Hey, I came here ready to complain about people who answer these questions, but as it turns out, we've been getting some good ones so far. So that's unusual, believe it or not. Here's another answer to the same question. How long does it take styrofoam to biodegrade and what is the resulting byproduct? Jim Tan lives in Canada. Styrofoam and plastic are made from petroleum. Styrofoam will probably take some amount of time, like plastic, to decompose in the ground. I went to a store and saw a chair that was made from recycled styrofoam. We could melt down old styrofoam and turn them into chairs and laundry basket. It's a good way to recycle old styrofoam and make some money. That is wonderful. This person describes the problem, and they offer a solution. That's unusual. Almost nobody offers solutions. That's a useful answer. I'm upvoting it. It already has 11 views. I'm thanking them. Okay, here's a troll question, but it's not so much a troll question as an intellectual exercise. Is it true that aliens aren't real and all of the UFOs we have discovered are absolutely top secret government experiments? So there's one guy, Chris Corsi, former science teacher. All? Certainly not. Modern methods have shown us that the majority of UFOs are simply misinterpreted natural phenomena or just regular flying objects like planes or balloons that credulous viewers think are alien craft. I expect a few sightings may have been experimental rockets or jets, especially back in the 40s and 50s when the government was hot to keep such things a secret, but the notion that the government has advanced alien-like tech is hiding from us is fodder for the tin-foil hat crowd. Whenever anybody says tin-foil hat, I automatically downvote it. That's a very dismissive kind of word. Now, this person didn't actually try to answer the question. What they did was they just tried to say that aliens aren't real. And that's what most of the answers to this question try to do. But I would prefer that they answer the question as worded. Here's another question. Here's another answer to the question of have you ever bought undeveloped land? Marco Barrio says, yes, I purchase existing land contracts and contracts for deed in order to receive future payments. When I buy those, I'm actually purchasing the property subject to any existing contracts such as those I just mentioned. Sometimes the property includes the home, but other times just raw land. A land transaction is like any other real estate. There's no need for a real estate broker to be involved. My transactions never involve one, only a title company and at times an attorney. I always order a new title policy. The title company performs the search. None of my land-only deals have been any more or less difficult than deals including homes. In my case, I hold the contract is paid in full, then I convey title to the new owner. While they make payments to me, they are also making property taxes. The concern I have with investing in raw land outright is that money goes out for taxes without receiving income. Alright, well that's helpful. I'm going to upvote that and thank him. Because I might buy undeveloped land someday just to hold for no reason. Like maybe somewhere in Oklahoma or Texas, low property taxes, just get a piece of undeveloped land and just hold it forever. Maybe build a tent on it. I might not even go there. I don't even know if that's a thing I want to do, but I'm trying to learn a little bit about it. Here's a genuine question. How much does it cost to drive garbage and trash directly to a landfill every day? Do you need a membership? So Ian Nisbet, former IT Ops Dev Systems Management User Support, says, I don't know. We've abolished landfill in our area. Wait, where's this guy from? Sheffield, UK. Even the incinerator ash for the stuff that cannot be recycled or composted is reused. The heat is used for power generation and district heating. If you're doing it commercially in the UK, you will need to be a licensed waste carrier, and it is taxed on top of any charge levied by the facility specifically to discourage it. They don't want you bringing stuff to the landfill. Thank you. At least in the UK, that's how it works. In America, when you they have trash pickup for residential usually, but for corporations, you usually have to hire someone to pick up your trash. And they take it to the landfill. You pay them to take the trash, and then they pay the landfill to take some, and then they get a cut. So I'm wondering what happens if I ran a business. What if I didn't want to pay someone to take my trash? What if I just had the time to take my trash to the landfill directly? That's kind of like what I'm asking, but we're going to get more on that later. Here's another one about the undeveloped land. This is from Richard Collins, Juris Doctorate from Southwestern University School of Law. I almost bought a piece of land to build a house on it. My offer was subject to a perk test where the hole was dug, water poured in, and if the water dissipated into the soil, it perked. In order to install a septic tank on land without sewer access, the land has to perk. This land didn't. No sale. That's interesting. Let's read that again, okay? My offer was subject to a perk test where the hole was dug, water poured in, and if the water dissipated into the soil, it's good. Yeah, I guess if it just sits there in the hole, then the land is no good. Title was no problem. In the United States, almost all land is described in a land office or recorder's office. That's good to know. Nowadays, all transactions are computable, searchable by grantor-grantee, and usually by the parcel number, unique to every separate plot of land. This is extremely useful. Thank you, Richard Collins, Juris Doctorate. Wow, we are killing it here. So many high-quality answers. This next question is a tough troll question, and I usually get low-quality answers for this. How many of your friends, family, and coworkers have fake vaccine cards right now? And how do you know for sure? Learn to Farm from, doesn't say where they're from. None I'm aware of, though 90% I'd say those people are diehard opposed to the vaccine anyway because nearly everyone they know has gotten COVID multiple times, like dumb masks. They're just a way it makes scared people feel better. This answer is not very useful. I'm going to say no. I'm going to upvote it anyway because of their participation. I'm going to thank them, but most of the answers to that question go one of two ways. No one I know is that dumb. Everyone I know has real cards. And then someone else just ignores the fake cards and they're like, the whole thing's a scam. Almost nobody goes in between and tries to be pragmatic about it. Why does trash smell bad? Is there a biochemical reason? Can be expedited? And when I say can it be expedited, what I'm asking is if the decomposition process can be accelerated so that the period of time in which trash smells bad is shorter. Paul Birchstead, world traveler, military retiree, says it's all biochemical. If you want to expedite the process, put it out in the hot sun. That rotting food odor is like a dinner bell for all animals, big, small, and even microscopic. You might even see bears and wild hogs poking around. What smells bad to you probably smells interesting to your dog or cat, so don't trust them around the trash can when you leave the house. Okay, that is somewhat helpful. I'm looking for like a chemical explanation of the decomposition process, and also like a biochemical explanation of how smell works and why we perceive some smells to be dangerous and some smells to be good. And what I'm looking for in this question does come about with some of the people who answer it, but not with everybody. All right, here's another troll one. How many of your friends, family, and coworkers have fake vaccine cards right now, and how do you know for sure? Anthony, retired, research chemist, biochemistry, medical chemist. I don't find this to be a problem where I live, for there is no need to show the papers here. I'm surprised so many put up with this. I'd imagine the majority of people, having seen those in some leadership position, yelling the loudest about masks and such, don't tend to follow their own sort of edicts. If they do not, and it was oh so very important, their hypocrisy would make their screaming demands null. Everyone in my part of the world just calls in to their doctor to have on file, especially those of us who needed that extra protection. It shows how a totalitarian-like approach leads to criminal behaviors along with whatever else lemmings do when they're told to do it. I am extremely disappointed with those in the land of the free and the home of the brave. I appreciate this old man's sentiment, so I'm going to upvote him and thank him. But he did not answer the question. What I asked was how many of your family and friends and coworkers have fake vaccine cards? And how do you know for sure? Here's a good question. How much money did you lose in 2021? Oh, something went wrong. Try again. Nope, I guess that person deleted their answer. Here's another one about the vaccine cards. John Smith says, 0 as far as I know. My friends, family, and coworkers generally don't commit fraud, especially aren't stupid, and generally don't recklessly endanger the public at large. I can't know for sure, of course, if someone is committing criminal sociopathic actions, but I would be surprised. Yeah, this dude definitely knows at least 3 people who have fake vaccine cards, and he has no idea. They're afraid to tell him, He asks them every week if they're vaccinated yet, and they're like, they got a fake card just to make John, okay. This next question is really loaded. It's kind of complicated. I'm actually going to take a little smoke before we do this one. This is a question that I've been asking. I wonder if I can go into the history and find out when I asked the question. Well, a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I asked, how do I prove or disprove? How do I prove or disprove? So, okay, first of all, about bias, I'm not trying to prove or disprove. I'm trying to do either or. It's an open question, okay? I don't want you to think I'm on one side or the other. How do I prove or disprove that there are millions of undocumented cases of people contracting COVID-19 and recovering without ever going to a hospital or getting tested? You see, not everybody who gets sick runs right to the hospital. A lot of people who get sick don't actually go to the hospital. These people aren't counted. They've never had a positive test. They just don't, their medical records don't reflect that they've had COVID. So that makes the numbers kind of complicated. The number of people who tested positive for COVID doesn't reflect how many people who've had COVID. How many people who've had COVID, that we just don't know because not all of it's documented. But what I'm interested in is how many people recover without needing to go to a hospital or needing any drugs or anything like that. Because in my life, pretty much everyone I know who has gotten sick in the past 2 years did not go to the hospital. Just 2 people. And they were all right. They still got over it in a weekend. So we got some people saying, you're going to die, you're going to end up on a ventilator, you're going to kill grandma, the ICUs are full. You're going to hear a lot of that, but I don't know if that's an accurate way to really describe the severity of what's happening. So I asked this question of how do you prove or disprove that there's millions of undocumented cases? You can't, but how would you try is what I'm looking for. Sarah says undocumented is difficult to prove if not impossible. Actual proof of anything requires documentation, not just opinion or anecdote. Even if the point you are trying to make is true, you won't be able to prove it. the best you can do is make a good argument that shows how reasonable your hypothesis is. So far, this person's doing pretty well. If you intend to use your unprovable hypothesis in arguments on Quora or elsewhere, you'll need to do what I do when I butt heads with COVID denialists. Google up some justifications. I recommend bookmarking every article page you want to use because you might be making the same argument many times over, as I do when trying to convince COVID idiots that yes, COVID is real, no, Omicron is not like influenza. Okay, all right, well, this person is biased now. They think COVID, they use the word COVIDiots. And when I hear that word, I don't know yet if you're talking about people who are fanatically afraid of COVID or people who are recklessly not afraid of COVID. They both groups use that word to describe the other group. So using that word alone isn't enough to reveal someone's bias. But then when they go into talking about... anyway, this person reveals their bias. And so what they're looking for or not looking for... By the way, I do hope you're not asking this question because you believe COVID is not serious and we should just relax and let ourselves get wild immunity through infection. No, that's not what I'm suggesting, but they always jump to that when you try to look at either extreme group and you try to pull them back into the center. They will often accuse you of taking the opposite extreme position, which... I don't think that works, but sometimes it works really well on TV. So did this person actually answer the question? How do I prove or disprove that there are millions of undocumented cases? All right, well, this person just said that you can't. And I don't think that answers the question because you're not even going to try to figure out from a data perspective, at least using... Have you ever heard how many piano tuners are there in Chicago? Okay, there's estimation techniques you can use to try to figure out how to round the number down and come up with a pretty close estimate. That's just one example of how you could even try to accomplish something like that. And very few people really try to answer the question. They just get right into their opinions about whether COVID is real or dangerous. Or not dangerous. Have you ever bought undeveloped land? How hard was the title search and broker's fees? You know what I should do? I should make separate videos for each question. I'm going to cut this off after this last question. Pure and simple, undeveloped land is a speculation, but fees and expenses involved with this transaction are the same as they are for a house you can live in. As for personal experience, my parents invested in land. By common sense and rules of investing, it should have grown greatly in value, but they didn't develop, and subsequent buyers did not, so the last time I drove by, it was overgrown with trees and still no income. After 60 years of growth to the north of Chicago's suburbs, go figure. Alright, I'm biased against this guy because this guy is upset that the land isn't developed yet, but I am grateful that the land has been preserved. This guy sees the trees as a nuisance, but I see the trees as the default position. I want to knock down houses and put up trees, but some people want to knock down trees and put up houses. Anyway, is this a useful answer? Did this person actually answer the question? They didn't say anything about title search or broker's fees or how to find the space or dealing with the real estate. They actually didn't give me any information at all that could help me with trying to make this happen for myself. So I'm going to say no. And I want to downvote it, but I'm going to upvote it because this guy's retired and I want to thank him for his time for participating in this question and answer session. Wow. I have 50 more unread notifications to do, but anyway, we're talking about Quora.com, Quora.com, and their goal is to create an in-depth knowledge base for every possible question. In the future, when you type any question into Google, they want Quora to be number one because multiple experts have already answered it and the community has already upvoted the best answer. In the future, their goal is for every conceivable question to be the #1 Google result. So they pay people to ask questions. You're in the shower and you're wondering, why don't we have blue apples? And you can ask. It doesn't matter how stupid the question is. What matters is that someday somebody's going to Google that same question. So if you ask questions that get views, you get paid. And if you answer questions, you don't get paid unless if you have a lot of followers and you have a monetization program, and it doesn't work for everybody, but almost anybody can get in there and get paid to ask questions. So I suggest you do something like that. I don't get that much. I've made $100 in 3 years. So I get $10 once in a while. It's definitely not worth my time. But I have genuine questions that I really am looking for the answers to, and that's priceless. I would use this site even if it was free. And now I'm going to try to make some videos that are focused on individual questions. And I think that might be better for search optimization and stuff. By the way, I'm feeling a lot better. I'm a lot better than I was yesterday. And I think in another day or two, I'll be feeling pretty normal-ish. So anyway, thanks for watching and thank you for your support.